Hi, Michael.
Is it just you and me? That's a little odd.
Don't worry. Give it about 30 seconds.
Okay.
Yeah, that's highly unlikely. What did we have? 37 at the last meeting?
It was a lot.
Yeah,
You know,
well,
it's weird. I've gone to one or two Amherst Town Council meetings, and they've set it up where you can't see the audience. You can
the
just-
webinar format.
Yeah, it's sort of weird. You have no sense of like what's happening.
Yeah,
Um,
I know
so,
we use that for the budget format, which really allowed the finance committee to really focus in and speak with each other.
yeah,
But the people watching were not happy. Well, there were a couple people that didn't like it.
yeah.
Most people appreciated because it was so much more on task and disciplined. But
I was just thinking, I mean, this Zoom stuff, you know, it's a drag not to see people, but the level of civic engagement, I mean, it's so much nicer to do this and not have to schlep in and schlep out and, you know,
yeah,
logistically, it's a lot. So it's a weird thing. It's a mix. I mean, you lose a lot, but you gain some stuff too.
yeah, I was thinking of the committees that have gotten new members during COVID. They really haven't had that same chance to get to know each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that's odd. You know, you don't have the same camaraderie and as in the other kind of meetings.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to, you know, Pat DeAngelis, who used to be at Shutesbury Elementary. You know, she's
Yeah.
a town counselor. And so I was talking to her because she's a friend. And she said the entire town council for their whole first 2 years, they never met.
Wow.
Like, that's just odd.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do this political negotiation, team building stuff when you don't see people in person. So,
Yeah. It must be just as, and teaching, never to really meet your teacher
oh,
must have been really tough.
yeah, I'm forever fortunate I didn't have school age kids during the pandemic. That,
Yeah.
you know, and well, even now, like Lucy said that, and I've heard from a few people, just this year is brutal because all the kids weren't socialized last year, and you sort of undervalue how much that in-person contact is. They don't know how to be in school with other kids, which is, you know, you actually learn over the course of grades, like this is how it happens and this is what you do. And it's close
Yeah.
to mayhem.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, my grandson was in Texas and preschool in Texas, and it was all in person.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, they were
That's-
getting notifications about, you know, his teacher got COVID. It was just crazy. And then vaccines were available, and anybody who wanted them could get them immediately because so few people wanted them. It was
You
like,
can get 4 or 5. Is-
yeah.
Where's your son? What city?
Well, he was in, oh, how can I forget so fast? Okay, so he used to
Lisa,
be
you're
in
getting
Abilene.
older. Your brain is getting soggy.
Abilene. I know, it's been a tough day. He was in Abilene, but
Huh.
now he's outside of Philadelphia.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, it is.
Culturally, yeah.
Yeah, because he did 3 years in the Air Force and was deployed to Djibouti and Afghanistan. Yeah, he didn't go to Iraq on that tour, but it was good because the housing market out there was great. So they bought their first house, brand new, and it was gorgeous.
Yeah, they decided to live next to people in Texas.
And it turned out that somebody else actually put up a sign for a Democrat. They were
Really?
yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah, I
They
would
had
not
been
wanna live-
afraid that somebody might shoot their signs out.
I can
Because it
appreciate
happened.
that. Yeah,
It happened in other parts of town.
or run over it with a big pickup truck.
Oh my.
Yeah.
That's how they deliver Girl Scout cookies, in the back of a big old pickup truck. Yeah, it was great. They had all the varieties. I hadn't seen all the varieties in a while.
Wow. Yeah, I don't think I'd want to live in Texas
Oh,
or
you know what?
Florida.
I know what's going on. I apologize, Michael. We're officially starting at 5:45.
Oh,
And
that's good to know.
yeah, so
Wait,
that's,
I saw all the changes last night, but I didn't pick that up. It's okay. I don't mind talking.
yeah,
And,
me either. It, yeah, because Melissa's, she's been going back to work. And so, hey, Linda,
and she has a new boss, right? Or, oh no, what's her face is still there or she left?
she's still there. They're
Kitty.
doing the whole
Search.
job hunt. I think it's the end of the year, June
Huh,
30th.
okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, that was, yeah, so she's been running really hard to get here on time and get stuck behind a regular speed driver and she can't make it.
Yeah, it's good to have her. I mean, I used to drive fast going up the hill for meetings, but I feel like she would drive faster than me. Like she likes going really fast.
Yes, she has very good control on the vehicle, especially she loves the snow and the ice. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, that's really cool though. I'm not as slow as I used to be, but
Well, the slowest people on the road are Prius drivers, in my opinion, because they do that old behavior mod thing and they get sucked into going the maximum mileage. I mean, I now have a hybrid and I don't do that because it used to drive me crazy watching.
yeah,
But
the
behavior mod's
first 2
powerful.
years, I was trying to hit that, that sweet point and, but sometimes it made you go faster.
Oh my gosh, really? I
Yeah.
didn't think that was possible.
But Tom Harding, he said, yeah, those Prius drivers.
I mean, around the valley, it's predictable. I'd say 95% of the time, if I'm behind a slow car, it's a Prius driver.
Yep. I know I get passed straight off the bat just because I'm in a Prius. And it doesn't matter if I'm going 60 on on a 45, they'll still pass me because they know. Yeah. Priuses are great though.
Yeah, Lucy got a Prius wagon this summer. Which is
Wow.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it is.
they're hard to find. We had because they stopped making them in 2017, so they were in high demand.
Yeah. I know Andy Steinberg had one.
Huh.
I think he had
And Zell maybe I think someone on Baker Road has one that Lucy was going to try to drive but never did. But they're big. I mean, the regular ones are not small, but the other ones are big.
Yeah, I was surprised how roomy it is. Yeah, it's as big as a Camry, I think.
Yeah, the ones that are not roomy is the new ones. The fully electric ones, the Smart or something.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they slope down in the back, so there's not a lot of storage at all. It's tempting because it's electric, but
Yeah.
if you really want to do stuff more than two people, it's a little tough.
Yeah.
Well, listen, you got here safely.
Michael and I were on at 5:30 wondering where everybody was.
And we were discussing your driving up the hill.
That's why it's five, and then I had to break it to him. It's because the meeting's supposed to start at 5:45. Yeah. Oh, you're muted.
It's just that leaving the college and getting into Shutesbury is dependent on who I get behind. And, once I leave the parking lot at the college, and it's really, a lottery system.
Yeah. We were just discussing, so here, Melissa, since you drive more like me, although I don't drive as fast as you, if you were to pick a model of car that went slow as a rule, what would you say it was?
Anything with 4 cylinders. My first car went, that really wasn't a good example. It actually went faster than my second car.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking
I
Prius,
would never pick a car that would go slow.
well, no, just
No,
one's
no, no,
behind, then you get behind.
Oh, yeah, well, yes, they particularly are the hybrids or the electric cars or the Priuses.
Yeah.
And I've been behind a couple Priuses and thought, I've got like a good team of horses under my hood. I just want to let them trot. Could you move over? At the point you're not even, I don't need to gallop. I just want to trot. So, and I understand people want to stay under a certain speed for the electric engine and all of that, but there's some of us that would like to let our horses run. So,
Yeah. I was telling Becky that I have a hybrid and I still like my horses run. I can't do that maximizing fuel thing.
the eco boost on a car, like when you're at a stoplight and it powers down or something like that, I think, those aren't that bad. I've rented cars that have done that. I would not be a candidate for a electric car myself, or one that drives itself. I want more active driving experience. I want to park it. I want to push the gas. I want to push the brake,
Yeah.
So those are I would never be able to drive those type of cars.
Yeah, the automatic ones, that would be a little scary.
And I also don't like the fact that we had rented a car going to Maine and it had the lane assist.
Oh, I turned that off. That's annoying.
Well, I'd never experienced it before. So
It's
on
scary.
the highway, it can kind of make a good point. But I was driving West Pelham Road. I went to go around a jogger and it pulled me back into the lane.
Oh,
It-
that's
it made
scary.
you?
It pulled me back in.
Oh, whoa, that's
Oh.
bad.
Yeah.
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 On the highway, it was kind of nice because it gave you a little alarm where it had the mirrors. It lit up a little bit to let you know someone was there. That was actually beneficial, but it jerked me back. And I
That's
was like,
scary.
going to figure out how to shut that off. Yeah, it was just, again, it was compensating without knowing what was going on. And,
Right.
like an alarm, okay, fine, but
My
It-
car has this warning for roads might be icy. And
Oh,
it's-
yeah, I
And
does
it's
too.
like anything between 34 and 42. Like,
I like that.
roads
well,
may
like
be
the
icy.
wind could blow and all of a sudden it decides, the roads could be icy.
My car also says, do you need a break for some coffee?
Yes.
I give me
Yeah.
That's it.
I'm like, no.
But
Yeah, I
mine
think you
isn't
need to
quite
take a
that
break.
important.
Like if you've been going really like on the high, when we drove out to Minnesota and, we'd be driving long stretches
Mhm.
at fairly high speeds. So,
And
yeah.
it's too bad you can't type responses back to the car.
Yeah, bring the coffee to me.
Yeah, or you know what you can do.
As long as the car doesn't say, "Are you drunk?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
we're
one
pulling
car
you
we
over.
There was one car we rented that if the door was open, it said the door is ajar. And I'm like, no, it's a door, not a jar, it's a door. Oh my goodness. I just like to be more active in my driving. My Jeep even has some controls that I would prefer the 4-wheel drive. I put it in 4-wheel drive instead of it sense it.
Oh.
Like I want to be just skidding and decide, well, this isn't happening, and just pull that lever up and say, now I'm in control. But everything's push button now. I like the more manual stuff. I like to feel the road under my tires too. And a lot of them are not that way. I like a rugged ride in a car or Jeep.
And
If
rocket
I want a
power.
smooth ride and I'm going on a long
You're
trip, I'll
muted,
rent a
Eric.
car.
Otherwise you could join this conversation.
Is this the middle of a Jeep ad? Did I walk into the wrong meeting?
Yeah, they were just talking about driving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think
All
about
right,
driving,
guys.
Eric?
This is great. Everybody's.
I don't mind driving. I really don't, but
Oh, good. I'll think
My
of that. The
favorite
next
is
time
in
I'm
the
taking a
snow.
long trip, I'll call you, Eric.
yeah. Well, I mean,
My
I think if
favorite-
we live in Shutesbury, you have to like driving to some, you have to put up with it anyway.
Yeah, you have
I mean,
to
you
put
know,
up with it.
How can
My
you
My
not?
favorite, I know
Not
Michael
like
knows
it.
this because I've said it in select board meetings, I think before, but my favorite winter sport is driving in the snow.
Yeah.
I
I
look
like
forward
that.
to it.
I like that too.
Yeah, like going down, I've gone down Leonard Road where there's been a foot of snow and it's been untouched. And it's just the best thing going, just blasting through it. 4-wheel drive is great.
Yeah, and you have traction. It's not slippery at that point, which is great.
Yeah.
I've even done it with my old 4-wheel drive car. Nothing phased me in this. Nothing phases me in the snow.
All right. I'm going to remember
Okay,
that.
guys, it's 5:45.
You want to start?
Oh,
It's
we're there.
5:46. We're ready. I'm calling this meeting to order. So the first thing on the agenda is
Bring up my email.
public comment, and I don't know if we have anybody. I know we have
Brian,
Brian here and Joan Hanson. Are either of you want to say something during public comment period?
Or Michael DeCara.
Michael, take care. Right. I forgot. I was feeling like you were on the board. You were here before Eric was.
It's me and Becky. No, I don't.
Oh, hi, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just a reporter from the Reminder.
Ah.
So everything will be on the record tonight.
And
Thank
I
you.
don't
Maybe
have
anyway.
anything. I'm just interested in the meeting.
Great. Thank you. Well, welcome to all three of you.
Okay.
Glad you're joining us. So the first item of business is we're going to go over the agenda. And I asked Becky just a few minutes ago if she could just put it up because we had a number of changes and it was kind of a little bit of a moving target. So I thought it would be good just for everybody who's here to just have a visual of what the agenda is for tonight.
It was right here. 1 second.
Okay.
Oh, that's not it. Okay, I brought up the TA. Here it is. Here we go. And nope, that's not it.
That's not the right password.
I apologize. We did go through 7 versions. And I'm sorry, Rita, I had it up.
Okay.
Was it the one with our packet earlier today?
Yeah,
So I can just go through the changes as Becky's looking to pull it up, or I'll step through the agenda and then as planned, we're doing a discussion around the Energy and Climate Resilience Committee. We'll be reviewing select board minutes. Then we have the Emergency Management Planning Grant review and signing with Chief Tibbetts. We are not doing the classification hearing tonight as was originally thought because we're still waiting on DOR for some information. We'll be doing the class 3 auto dealer license with Clark. So, okay, so there we are. Not doing the athletic club license renewals. I assume, Linda, they were not ready. Is that
Yes,
correct?
correct. They're not ready.
Okay.
Yeah.
Becky, do we have a final word on the land use clerk?
not tonight. It'll have to wait till the 30th.
Okay, so we will then be moving to the municipal vulnerability planning, talking about potential projects and then a process for identifying, maybe getting the select board to think about potential projects. And then I'd like to talk about a process for engaging with other town boards and committees. We have a meeting with the building committee and PFAS update and town administrator updates. Anything else that's of a urgent matter that we would need to add tonight?
Yes, we had the agreement with Nextera. Nextera's taken over we're not doing that tonight. Sorry.
Yeah, so we're not going to do that. Yeah.
That's going to
Okay.
be on the next agenda.
Okay. All right, great.
Right.
Okay, so let's launch right into the Energy and Climate Resilience Committee. And I had done, after our last meeting, I kind of belatedly just today did some editing and then passed it along to Becky. So I think you might have gotten 2 versions, but this is the what I'm calling draft number 2. And based on some comments that we received at our last meeting, I just added a couple of things to this and I highlighted the changes in italics just to simplify it. And so the first one was sort of just being more accurate that we've had an energy committee, I think since the late 70s. Becky said something like 44 years. I thought late 70s sounded better than 44 years. And then just, again, it talks in background about how that committee has evolved over time.
Is it shared? Can everybody see it?
Yes,
It's really small. Can you make it bigger, Becky?
I
Yeah.
think you can make it bigger on your own screen too, if you go to your Zoom ratio.
Yep, if you go to
Um,
the top at the
View
view option,
options.
it gives you a zoom ratio and it gives you some options. It only increases your screen, and to zoom and change through it.
Oh,
and
wow.
Click and drag, you can go, because
A
it'll
new-
push it off your screen, but you can click and drag to scroll it.
Cool. A
Isn't
new
that cool?
tool.
Especially for
Yeah.
those of us with aging eyes. Yeah. So on the second page, I gotta make mine a little smaller now. On the second page, based on a couple of comments, I added staying abreast of the latest research and best practices regarding climate change / science. And then just a little further down in number 5, added explore opportunities for regenerative design, which I actually did a little bit of research on and thought that was pretty interesting. It's basically taking what you have existing and trying to go back in time and improve it, rather than like holding steady, where we are. But it's, I don't know if that makes sense. But anyway, if you want more information, if you Google regenerative design, there's a lot of information out there. And I thought that was would be a good addition to the scope. So those are the only changes that I made. I don't know, Melissa or Eric, if you've had any other thoughts about how we might edit this.
I had a couple of
Whatever.
thoughts.
Yep.
In number 1 on the second page, I just think you might want to just say energy generation or something. Generation is it's just a vague term to me in a sense. So,
Oh,
I mean, I
okay.
know what it is, you know what it is, but you might want to just say energy generation,
Oh, yeah.
power generation, something.
Yep.
The other thing it seemed to me is that we want to,
Maybe power rather than, I think power
Yeah,
generation.
power
makes
generation
sense.
is
Yep.
fine. That's fine. The other one is in number 6, or I don't know, actually know where to put it, but I know something that would indicate that the committee will be involved in auditing the energy use in town buildings. And I mean, maybe that's implied by everything else that's written, but to write it in there, it seemed to me might be not a bad idea.
Yep. Okay.
And the second thing, the third thing I was talking about would
So
be
just
the
stop there can you stop there
Yep.
for a second? So add that to coordinate with other, to number 6 or number 7, because it has, or we just have a whole
Add it to
separate
the
line.
Yeah, add it to the list there, I think.
Because
The
that's,
one-
we have a Mass Energy Insight, which is set up that does monitor all our energy use in town. It was part of what we set up with Green Communities. And so you can go in and get reports as the energy committees turned over. I always gave them the login information so that they could easily review the audits and make sure that we were applying the cost to all the right accounts. But more eyes on that can always be a wonderful thing. So
Maybe we could put it
Well-
under report progress to select board and monitor. What is it called, Becky? It's the Mass
Mass Energy Insight.
Mass Energy Insight. Sorry, under
The other
number
thing,
7.
The other
Do you
thing that
think?
would be related to that to me would be to report, just put on the town website, what are we making in solar production in town? What's happening? What are we doing? I mean, we have these solar panels already. What are they doing? I mean, it might be good. And I know, at least Gail, I know has mentioned that she would be up for doing that. Is that right, Gail? My putting words in your mouth?
No, I'd be happy to do that. I have the same kind of system here at home. And I would simply check the production meter at some arbitrary time, probably the last day of the month, the first day of the month. And the rates are online. They change from time to time across the year, maybe 3 or 4 times across the year, but they're online. So it would not be difficult to calculate for each month. You report the kilowatt hours produced and then calculate the dollars saved.
Yeah,
Brag.
that would be great.
Basically bragging rights on the town.
Mhm. So I guess I would put that, rather than put that as I, because I don't really think it belongs there. I think it belongs in number 7 on reporting. That we're
Sure.
kind of monitoring energy insight and reporting on town website.
Production, yeah,
Yeah.
energy production.
You want that on number 7?
Yes,
Because
Yeah,
we get monthly reports.
okay, great.
It's just that it says quarterly here.
No, that was more the committee reporting quarterly. So I was going to say,
Okay, so
put a semicolon. This is a separate activity.
All right.
I think Michael's got his hand up there.
I do.
Okay, just want to see if Melissa has any comments. Okay,
I'm
All right.
good. It looks good.
okay, Michael?
So I just wanted to backtrack on Eric's suggestion because it sort of makes me wonder I think I know what the purpose of the committee is, which is really to sort of take the big picture, look at all the different aspects, bring enough key players together to figure out how to move the town forward. And while I agree that knowing how much solar production we're creating is a good factoid, it's more a task level thing. And I don't think, like what I understood the old, when I was on the select board and I asked, what does the energy committee do? The primary thing they did is they adjusted the angle of the panels, which is a task. And so this feels like a task, and everything else, which what I was excited about was to say, there's all these moving parts and really big issues, and they're sort of siloed out and no one's thinking about how to deal with them in a synergetic kind of way, if that's a word. So I guess I just worry about adding tasks to this group of people who are more trying to figure out planning and strategy and implementation. Tasks will happen, but maybe that's not part of the charge.
Right, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, like I go through the Mass Energy Insight, because I have to report every year, do an annual report on it. So it is monitored, but it is helpful for the Energy Committee to look at it because it helps pinpoint what kind of problems we're having with heat loss or things like that in different buildings if the energy. So it's also would be something great if they worked with reported to the building committee on their findings. But I think those kind of tasks should evolve from the committee. When you get too detailed a requirement, I mean, it's fine to do it, but I'm sure the committee will feel free to go beyond what's listed here.
Maybe,
Yeah.
maybe it should be something that's more generic, like that the committee should publicize, town efforts to, or something. So however you say it, is it, and that doesn't say what they're actually going to be doing. They can do that whatever they want to do, but that's one of their charges. It seems to me is to let people know what's going on. I don't think that's I understand it's a task, but I also think it's a charge of the committee to be
Mhm,
part of that transparency of what's happening.
mhm.
The communication and transparency makes a lot of sense, Eric. I don't disagree with that.
Yeah, so I wouldn't put that I and J on those two things, but maybe what we do is then expand the number 7. It's reporting progress to the select board on a quarterly basis and informing town citizens,
Residents.
residents.
Yeah, something like that.
About I don't know. Progress, I'm not sure what to call it, but keeping town residents informed of both the committee's activities, but kind of a report card on how we're doing as a town. And I would include in that, if I was thinking about a report card, is like how much solar are we producing? How much energy are we producing?
Right. But I agree, that's something that the committee could decide to publicize and however they want to do it. I would
Right.
think they would want to do it, but
Right. So I don't, we can tweak this a little bit more if anybody has any suggestions, but I think, I think having that sort of reporting and is a good thing, and it not be really just to the select board.
okay.
Is that new wording? Good, Melissa, Eric, you guys okay with that?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, yeah, I like that. Okay, so I think if we're ready, we could go ahead and vote on this. And then the big question is the kind of implementation. It's all fine and good to come up with this idea. And populating the committee will be a challenge. And just from an administrative vantage point, Becky, we now, at least on the town webpage, it says that the Energy Committee has 3 members. That's Alan Hansen, Graham Sefton, and I think Ben Brow. And I have spoken with both Alan and with Graham, and it's not clear to me whether or not they would want to be, have their stuff full or continue with the Energy Committee kind of in a new iteration. So how do we do this? I mean, the Energy Committee was created by the Select Board, correct? By a vote of the.
Yes.
Do we have people now who have appointments going through, I don't know, the next couple of years, probably. Linda probably has a better sense of it. So do we dissolve the Energy Committee, or do we rename it and give those people who are currently members an opportunity to continue, and we have a bunch of new appointments?
I kind of like that idea, Rita, where if anyone wants to stay from the current committee, they do have some institutional knowledge there that newcomers might not have. And so that, and then if they choose to stay after their terms are up, then fine, or, I think that's a good idea anyway. Have some overlap in the.
Yeah, I agree with that. Just if they want to keep being on it, they shouldn't. If they don't, they'll leave, and in any event, other people will join.
Yeah, I was under the impression that Ben was not interested, but I don't have a sense of Graham or Alan.
Rita, can I say something?
Oh yeah, there's Alan.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was appointed to that committee a long time ago, and shortly after I was appointed, everybody else on the committee quit. Now, I'm not sure it was because of me or because they were tired. They'll leave that open for guesswork. But I would be willing to sit on the committee again. Ben, I talked to Ben, I don't know, probably less than a year ago. And he indicated to me that he was not interested in doing it anymore. Graham, I think is, pretty sure he is. So
That's right too.
We could take that, you could take that into consideration for what it's worth.
Okay, good. So I know there were a couple of other hands up. I just want to make sure either the select board members don't have anything else they want to add before I call on the public. So I'll go from the bottom up. Gail?
I was just going to report in that according to the appointed officials list, the terms end for all 3 in 2022.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
What was that?
Who else's hand did I see? Michael?
Yeah, So I was actually going to offer the different approach. I mean,
Never mind.
it's, it feels like you can disband because this scope is so much different. It feels like it would be cleaner to disband the energy committee and then vote to create this new committee with, it's more than just a name, it's sort of a new charge. And then you can have a conversation about members, and you can either have existing energy committee members, express their interest, or, like we've done the plan, just write to the planning board and they get preferential treatment, or you just decide that, they have the experience that's worthwhile. But I guess it's my sense, just from thinking about the energy committee for the last few years, it needs a refresh. And I think part of what you're doing is exciting. So to sort of shift it over and saying, in effect, if you keep it open and you keep members, then you open it up again, all you're doing is sort of repopulating an energy committee with a different charge. And it's easy to sort of have a conversation in 5 years and say, we've had an energy committee for 49 years now. It feels like it's the same trajectory, where I think this is a bigger charge, and it's worth, I think if you dissolve it, it's, you dissolve the committee, the membership stops being members, and then you create a new committee, and then you can appoint new members. And I don't think there's any problem with disbanding it and the members not having a position, and then getting reappointed.
Other comments? Gail, I see your hand up again.
One suggestion might be to leave the energy committee as it is with its original charge and with what you keep calling tasks, and leave this future visioning and advanced planning and this much larger charge to a new committee altogether, without disbanding the current energy committee. Let it do what it's been doing, which is basically the reporting and the tasks, and use this new committee with a much broader charge, marry it to the MVP task site, really, more than tasks.
Becky?
The current energy committee has not met in many years. And Graham, since Graham joined, they haven't had a meeting. The tasks that are getting done, moving the solar panels with the 24-inch wrench, is getting done by energy committee members, not by anybody currently on the board. And I'm doing the other reporting as much as it gets done. So we would have to reinvigorate the members to those, to the other purpose. The two people that are willing to, and it appears they both want to be involved in the new purpose.
I'm not so sure about Graham, not from my last conversation with him. So.
Yeah, he expressed interest to me a few months ago. So I don't know.
Yeah, this was more recently.
Yeah.
I guess I like Michael's idea. I don't think it makes a real lot of difference, but it does sort of set a point in time. We're sort of saying, look, the old one's done. We're starting the new. The old one, which hasn't met for years, is done. We're turning a new leaf with a broader charge and so forth. And I don't think that's a bad idea. I'm not sure the idea of like having two. I think the idea of having two committees is bad, only in the sense that we can't even get people to be on the committees we already have, let alone creating another one. So anyway, that's my point of view. I think I'd agree with what Michael suggested.
What's the kind of protocol for that? Has that been done before when we have people who are, yeah?
Yeah, I think the recreation committee went through a bunch of variations, and people were split between open space and recreation, back on recreation. So I think, yeah, I think it makes sense, especially because there hasn't been any activity.
Okay. Melissa, any thoughts?
I don't know what Michael said. think would work, but what Gail said, I think would work too. I don't know. I still think having either a member to join this one.
Carry over.
Yeah, or
Mhm.
carry over or parallel until this one gets going even. Do you know what I'm saying? So,
So we're going to be doing the appointing.
Yep.
So I think that's, we would certainly encourage anybody, Alan and Graham, to, if we were going to do the new committee, to submit their names.
Yeah,
for this committee.
I agree.
Okay. All right, so do we need 2 votes then? Do we need a vote on the dissolution of the existing energy committee? So do I hear a motion to dissolve the existing Shutesbury Energy Committee?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, we'll go ahead and vote. We'll do a roll call vote. All those in favor?
Make peace.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. So do I hear a motion to create an Energy and Climate Action Committee as described in the document that we're looking at this evening as edited?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Make peace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. So those of you who have joined us from the public, stay tuned. We will be.
It sounded like Michael was volunteering.
I am.
We better get some volunteers.
I know Gail can't wait. So there you go.
There
That's
we go.
2.
Great. And Alan Hansen's here too.
That's right.
Okay, so I see Walter is here. I'm just doing a time check. Do we want to go ahead and just skip over the minutes and do Walter? Does that make sense? Okay, because I think
Sure.
we might have. a little
I would
bit of time.
appreciate that, as I am in another meeting here in Wendell, Franklin County Fire Chief, so I stepped out to do this part, so.
Okay. All right, so Walter, you are looking for a vote and a signature on the emergency management planning grant, is that
Emergency Management Performance Grant, yes.
performance grant? Okay, and real quickly, can you just describe to us what that is?
Yeah, it's an ongoing grant that we've been doing for several years now through MEMA. Usually it's decided on at the emergency management team as to what we want to do. We've used it for doing several projects, from upgrading the radio systems for the town itself to shelter supplies, to power supply backups for all the computers and external hard drives and things like that over the years, for all different things for emergency management. This year, the team didn't really have any input on anything, said it was, to Mark and I to make a decision. What we decided to do was to get another mobile radio for the 800 radio system for the utility truck. When we originally got the radios allocated through the state grant, we did not have an extra truck. What we had done in the meantime was we got the chassis, new chassis for the rescue truck, took the old chassis from the rescue, made that the new brush truck, and took the old chassis from the brush truck, made a utility pickup truck, and it does not have a radio in it in our current. So
And how much money is it, Walter?
it's $2,700 for the grant. So we put in for a radio and a multiple charger, 6-bay charger for the portable radios.
Sounds good. Do I hear a motion to approve the emergency management performance grant?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Make peace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Thanks, Walter.
All right, thank you very much. Anything else before I head back to my other meeting?
I don't think so. I think we're good.
All right, Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good
Good
meeting.
night. Okay, so I see Sarah Clark is here from Clark Auto, and we have a auto dealer license that, Linda, I'm going to have you just tell us what needs to be done and the nature of the license.
Okay, so hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Let's see, let me get my papers. Okay, so this is an application to renew Clark Auto Wrecking's Class 3 license, which is to buy, sell, exchange, or assemble secondhand motor vehicles or parts. So what as yes, so Sarah would maybe give a little update on how their business is doing and any changes. And then you would vote to approve the, if you so do, vote to approve the application and then vote to issue the Class 3 license.
Updates. It's cold, nothing unusual. We still contract to get rid of our batteries. We have a company that we are trying to get to come get our antifreeze, but they are hampered a little bit by labor shortages and such, but we're on their roster and just trying to get through the cold weather. It's not as much fun as it used to be, but we're okay.
And one thing that changed is the that it's now just Thomas listed, right?
Correct. We've decided to not put my father-in-law on, as he's going to be 91 in December, and he's not participating on any level with the day-to-day activities. So.
Okay, any questions from the select board members?
Nope.
Any questions from community members? Okay, so Linda, so there are two votes. One is to approve the application and the second is to issue the license. Is that what I heard?
Yes, or you could do it in one, but you
One
have
vote?
one.
Okay.
One is to approve the application because you'll be signing that to approve,
Mhm.
then you'll be signing an actual license.
I see, okay.
So you have both.
So I hear a motion to approve the application and sign the license for Clark Auto Wrecking. License renewal, I should say.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Did anybody have any questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, that's good. I
Thanks,
always
Sarah.
feel like I never say enough, so.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Thanks
Thank
for coming, Sarah.
Oh, someday we'll be in person again. It has to
Yeah,
happen.
someday. And you'll be able to come up to the table and sign it.
Sarah, so,
Thank you,
one-
everybody.
once the select
Thank
board
you.
vote comes into town hall and signs everything, then I'll mail you your license.
That's perfect. You are so organized. Thank you so much for making this
You're
happen.
welcome. You're welcome.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Happy holidays.
Same to
Thank
you.
you too.
Bye-bye.
We are a little bit ahead of schedule, so do we want to just go ahead and do the minutes while we're here?
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from November 9th, 2021.
Is there a
Second.
Okay, any discussion? They look good to me too.
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, so we're not reviewing the land use clerk. I'm just going to verify that again, Becky. We don't have that.
Really, should resolve everything tomorrow and it will happen at our next meeting.
Okay, so we're a little bit ahead of schedule, but I actually think that's a good thing. So what I'd like to, the next item on the agenda is to talk about municipal vulnerability planning. And we had received notification that that the state is going to be making, municipal vulnerability program is going to be making grants available. And for those of you who went through this planning process, you know, we both did the municipal vulnerability analysis. Kind of, we had gotten a planning grant, which I think Michael had worked on, and we had Fuss and O'Neill who came in and did a pretty detailed report. And then subsequent to that, we did the hazard mitigation plan, and they really overlapped in a lot of ways. And basically what both of these things we're doing was just looking at where Shutesbury, what we need to be focusing on in order to be responding to climate change. And I think given what we went through this last summer with torrential rains for 3 weeks and then a drought for another 3, we all are pretty familiar, not only kind of nationally, but really on a local level too, about some of the effects on, you know, of climate change on just a whole host of things in the community. So I went back to the Fuss and O'Neill report. And I think, Becky, if you could scroll down to the top recommendations, it's page 14. You know, there's a whole, this kind of identifying places in town where we're vulnerable, and there are many, you know, ranging from culverts and dams to just what the effects of extreme heat might be. And this is current strengths and assets. And then they went on to the top recommendations to improve resilience. So this was part of the planning grant. What we're talking about tonight is what does the select board think are the things that we can now go for an action grant. And so there's a kind of almost a pre-application period that runs until I think early February. And then thereafter they're going to, and during that time, the MVP folks will be working with the town really closely to make sure that something gets crafted that could get funded. And after that kind of initial pre-application period, then we would go in with an application. I did look through all the awards that they made this last fiscal year, and some of the surrounding communities, including Leverett, a number of other Franklin County communities received the MVP grant, which was very encouraging to me, because I always think, oh, we're at such a disadvantage as a small community. How are we going to compete against, you know, communities in the eastern part of the state? But they definitely do a good geographic distribution, and the funds were used. There was a really wide range, and funds were used. Some funds were used kind of more extensive planning around, like, you know, this first bullet, conducting a field inventory. Some of it was that, and there were actually fairly substantial expenditures to do work on things like dams and culverts. And they look for, you know, in the grant program, they look for a match, but I think the match is relatively small. So again, it's a good opportunity for Shutesbury. I think we're, you know, we're getting this Energy and Climate Resilience Committee kind of launched, but I don't think there's time really for that committee to get up and running in time to kind of work on this, although it would have been where I would have thought that we would send this sort of an issue. But what I thought we could do tonight is just look through this look through this list and see if there are things here that the select board identifies. And then what I'd like to do is have one select board member then work with other boards in town and boards and the highway department and the fire department to kind of come to a consensus about what we Shutesbury might look at to apply for money. And I think, you know, it gets to be a relatively large number of people, and we don't have a lot of time, but I think this is, you know, this would be a real missed opportunity if we don't try at least to get some money. So Eric and Melissa, I don't know if you've had an opportunity to take a look at this, the high priority items on this list, but you know, some of them are some things we've already done, like the culvert, the Lake Wyola culvert was there, the mosquito control district. You know, there are a few things here that that, you know, I'm not sure we would want to apply for funding, but things like the culverts and bridges, to me, are really important because we have some problems in town, as you all well know, and particularly with on some of our dirt roads. I think that's what Leverett got money for. It was a culvert, I want to say, on Shutesbury Road. And then they got about $250,000. So it was pretty significant. But, you know, I know an issue's come up around Baker Road. I have no sense of where all those culvert and bridges are in town that we might focus on. But if we're thinking broadly about, you know, the effect of massive amounts of water, you know, we could sort of say these are issues where significant rainfall really affects Shutesbury. So we have rain, we have heat, we have other impacts of climate change. But thoughts?
I like the priority list here as it exists. I mean, I agree, we've sort of done some of the stuff, but I think it makes sense to me that to try to get money to do any of that stuff.
So we'd have to pick off, yeah, are there any that we want to pick off and say, just from the select board, the decision isn't going to be made tonight because I think, you know, we need to confer with other boards too and committees. But I thought just from the select board perspective, if there were some.
The bridges and the bridges and culverts, if one of them goes out, the road is impassable. So, I mean, I think that's probably the highest priority on there. You know, it would affect everybody, residents and emergency response times. So that's one that jumps out at me as Becky scrolling. She's scrolling a little too fast.
Do we have any kind of an inventory and a sort of schedule for replacement?
I believe Tim has a full inventory of over 200 culverts, but I know that he was working with Walter and the FERCog. They had hoped to get a more formal one. He has everything listed, but it doesn't have like the full definition. It just says where they are. It doesn't give the specifics of the size and the length. I don't think, but I know we were trying to upgrade that inventory a couple years back, and the project never came through FERCog. So I think it would be a good thing to do. The other issue that's been brought up by the Finance Committee and the question for capital planning has been, which is also addressed here, the concern about 50% of our roads being dirt roads or gravel roads. and how they take the biggest beating when we have these weather events that become more extreme every year, and really starting to develop a sense of, quantify the cost of what it would take to upgrade, a mile of gravel road at this time. We have 27 miles, I believe. No, that's too much. 22 of gravel roads. So we need, it's an overwhelming subject. But if we don't start to consider it, I think we're going to have a very hard time in the future maintaining dirt roads. They already take more manpower to maintain than paved roads. They don't have the paving requirement at this point, so it'd be a huge change to our budgeting. And probably we couldn't even conceive of it if the state doesn't fund Chapter 90 to a more appropriate level. But I think if we built an inventory or did an analysis of what it would take and how many miles and the potential cost, and start submitting that annually to the questions around Chapter 90 funding, that would be information they currently don't have. And I think it would, over time would benefit the community.
I also, given the infrastructure money at the federal level and sort of what the state is doing, I mean, this is really a window of time that we have more, MVP is out there with these implementation grants, but there's going to be more money behind it. So, I think what we as a community want to do is be poised to take advantage of that. And the way to take advantage of that is being prepared and having your as much inventory, assessing, design stuff done. So, I'd like us to think big, and that's sort of my idea is not to go in just shy saying, well, we want $5,000 or $10,000. I think I would encourage the select board, but all the other committees to think large and let them tell us, no, you can't, you're not quite ready to go there yet, but here's what you have to do. Here's what we could give you money for in order to get you to that point. So, if it's things like stormwater management, which I think is a big issue, the road, the culverts and bridges are really big issues. And as they relate to dirt roads. So that's sort of where I guess I would go. So I don't know. I mean, I don't think we need to vote tonight, other than.
What's the timing on this? When do we have to
Well,
apply
it
for
turns
grants and so
around.
forth?
Yeah, there's I should have written down the dates. There's something like by January 15th, they won something that was an expression of interest. So that was a pretty, and then by beginning of February.
February 14th.
What is it?
14th.
What is the, and what is that has to be submitted on the 14th, Michael?
That's
My birthday.
that's the eligibility form. So the January date is the first. They're encouraging rolling applications. So if we get it in by the January date that Rita mentioned, then we get sort of preferred review. But the drop dead date is the 14th
of February. So, which means, when I read through the material, it means that they would give us help, that they would kind of give us guidance. The sooner we get in there, so if we can get something in, by the 14th of January, at least, some idea about what we want. They're saying they will work with the community to kind of shape the, shape what the project is.
Yeah, and the application's online for those deadlines, and it's really pretty straightforward. We just have to be fully prepared with a project summary.
And I guess I would see that, I don't want to call them a committee. I'll call it a working group of, folks from town departments and town boards in coming up with those, the top one or two things that we might apply for with guidance from the select board. That there.
Maybe this is, I have a question for Michael, Michael, I don't know who's going here.
Rita, make the
Yes.
call. Who's
Oh, Eric can go. He's on the committee.
Eric?
Yeah, you can go. Sorry.
You go. It's like my daughter says in Minnesota, they're so polite. You come to a four-way stop, and everyone's going, no, you go. No, you go. Anyway,
It's
but
true.
that wouldn't happen here.
No.
Now I forgot what I was going to say. Hold on. Go ahead, Michael, you go while I'm
Okay,
now you lost my train of thought there.
there you go. Rita, can I go?
You can go, Michael.
Okay. First, I just wanted to commend you guys because I think this is exactly what we need to do. I mean, as the person who sort of researched it and wrote the MVP, I've been tracking it. And, last year I was really astounded by the level of grants that went out. I think it was between 100 and 200. I mean, a ton of municipalities got funded, which is way more than before. And I do think Rita's point about the infrastructure that, this is MVP, but then there's going to be other infrastructure. So, the way these things work, besides the preparedness, if you've demonstrated that you've been doing something, it's easier to get the next round. And I would also think that it's big, like this is the window. So these are action grants, not planning grants. So we can get money to do a inventory, that's an action. But, I think there's also, if there's costs and we want to sort of do things, but that's sort of another discussion. I was just going to say that, the planning board has discussed this, just because I brought it up in the past and I made them aware that this action grant, we've been waiting for it to come out. So we meet, I think, December 8th or something. So we're going to talk about it as well. But I think, Rita, your idea is great, which is to pull, some key stakeholder committees together to figure out what it is, because this is a shot to go big and to knock off some of these priorities. So I think it's great. Eric, you remember?
I do remember it. It was, I guess it was a particular thing. I was wondering if possibly the grants, one of the things on here is solar planning and so forth. I wonder if some of the grant would pay for solar on, for example, the new library, if that were to ever happen. And I have no idea if it would, but if it would, that would be great if there was another pot of money we could throw at that whole deal.
My sense is it would, it's a matter of categorizing and how you
I
put
think it
this
would
in.
too.
So, it's about reducing our vulnerability. And so if you think of it as we're going to have a storm and we're going to have less reliable electricity. So solar can provide, especially if there's battery connected to it, more reliable storage. And if you build in the library as the gathering place in an emergency, one thing that I've thought about, this is jumping the gun, but just to sort of tell you, what I've thought about is if there's a way of grouping some of these things into a category, so like Rita was talking about flooding and extreme water, well, that'll hit roads. It could, it could infect wells, for example. There's a thing I think on the bottom of this list about, the people part, which I thought was really important. So people who get stranded because of an emergency, if there's a flood and you can't get through, so you could bundle a couple of things under a certain rubric or category of issue. But the short answer is, Eric, I think totally, if that would be something we could look at, they'd probably accept it if framed the right way.
And I think that would just sort of be part of Rita's general concept of let's go big here. Let's ask. All I can do is say no, right? Some level.
You should look at the list from last year. It was pretty impressive of the grants that they made. Okay, so are we in general agreement here that we want to go forward and organize? I don't know, I guess we have to look at the list of everybody who is involved in the MVP and see whether, how many people we can get together. So Michael, you said the planning board is going to be taking this up?
Yeah, I actually just reminded myself to ask Deacon, but we've had it on our agenda for the last 2 meetings. We just didn't have an action plan to talk about. So now we do.
Okay.
I kept putting it off saying there's nothing to talk about yet.
I mean, the other people that sort of immediately came to mind were Tim Hunting and Walter Tibbetts. And then I'm sure there are lots of people. I'm not the Planning Board, Conservation Commission,
Emergency
Board of Health,
management.
Emergency management, yeah.
Cemetery Commission did, no, probably not too much
Hopefully not.
in there.
Well,
Although Walter's
And a
on
wa-
that too, so he can play that
Yes,
role.
right, could cover for them. I don't know, Council on Aging.
Yes.
the new energy committee, that we just voted to create,
Yeah,
I would
well,
think they'd be very interested.
that's gonna take a little while to get assembled, so. Okay, well, how about, so Eric or Melissa, do either one of you want to volunteer to be the, or I'll volunteer to be the select board emissary, but if either one of you wants to do it, I'm happy to.
I
help
currently
organize.
organize police study group, so
Yeah.
I'll bow away from this one for now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I prefer to bow away, but I will do it, or we could do it, we could co-do it or something.
Okay.
That's a good
Why
idea.
don't we think about that? All right,
Yeah.
great. And so Becky, we'll just work through you getting the list together then of people. And then probably shoot for getting a meeting, getting people together in December if they can, if they feel like they can represent their groups.
It's sort of like Christmas. We should have it around Christmas.
Right.
Like,
Yeah, I just more, my only concern is getting something out to committees. And then if the committee wants to designate a person, rather than having everybody from the Conservation Commission or Planning Board or whatever, that we just have one representative. And so if they need to vote that, it just makes it a little tricky in terms of timing. I don't know when everybody's meeting, but I'll take a look at the calendar and try to
And
figure that out.
Concom is down to 1 meeting a month now. And
Okay.
so for a couple of the other boards, like planning board's usually 1 meeting a month,
Mhm.
which will make it tough to do quickly.
I mean, if we had our first meeting of this working group at the beginning of January, I mean, had a couple of meetings before the
That's
15th,
true.
we could probably do it, right? And meanwhile,
Yeah,
month of November, December, whatever meetings, Concom or whoever.
yeah, and
I
everybody
like
would
that
have
you're-
time.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah. Okay. That sounds reasonable.
Rita, did you want this meeting to happen at a select board meeting or a separate? meeting?
No, I don't think so. Not at a select board meeting. I
That'd
think
be separate,
separately.
right?
Yeah.
Okay,
That would be too much chaos.
I think, I think we should ask committees to have one person.
Yeah,
Or maybe
yeah.
2 max
Yeah,
that are
one.
interested.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it's probably going to be 12, at least 12 people, I think, by the time we get
Yeah.
good coverage. Okay. All right, so the next, and we are a little bit ahead of schedule. I'm just looking to see if I see a few people here from the building committee, Nancy and Frank, but Bob isn't here.
would you like me
Well,
to do town administrator updates?
yeah, that would be great. Why don't we do that?
Okay, we have the MVP. We have, so Rita has been working to make sure that we get more substantive responses to incoming emails from the public. And to that end, I have a couple of open issues that I just wanted to touch base with the select board. One is on the email from Miriam DeFont, the chair of the Conservation Commission. She just, yesterday, she had, or it might have been this morning, but she addressed road issues and her concerns about them, and would like to review the MOU, the highway MOU with Tim Hunting, our highway superintendent. So I just want the select board to know that I'm gonna be working with Linda Scott, who's gonna help me review the MOU and then work with Tim and prepare a response to the Conservation Commission. She mentions a project that has been bopping around for probably 10 years, which is an ongoing order of conditions for the highway department regarding roads, and it can get problematic. So that's why it's been in the works and hasn't moved forward in the past. So I just want you to know that I'll be getting back to Concom and with a response probably tomorrow. And just to let them know that we are looking into it and we'll have further information for them. We had an email from BZ Riley, who would like to have another person appointed to their recreation committee because they're very active right now, which is great. The problem I ran into when looking at it is the Recreation Committee has gone through a number of reorganizations, and the statute form of a Recreation Committee is a Recreation Commission that has a bit more formality to it. And I would like to look into whether we should be recommending making that change at annual town meeting to a regular Recreation Commission, and what the benefits of that would be or not be. And so I wanted the select board's feedback to see if that's something they would like explored further and have come back to them. The other problem is that they have, BZ is proposing that another person be appointed to the committee now. And I'm concerned about discouraging them before we make as we develop a transition. So I'm looking for feedback from the select board. If they think that it's more appropriate to appoint the person they've selected, Anne Brigham, now, and then as we work through what would need town meeting votes to develop a regular Recreation Commission, then we would address all the members of the committee at that point. So what do you all think? Do you think it would be a problem just to hold on the appointment of Anne Brigham? Do you think it's better to appoint her now?
Melissa? Eric? Go ahead, Eric.
Can I even comment on this? I mean, BZ is my wife.
Yes, you can.
I'd say appoint the person now. But I mean, I don't, unless there's a reason not to, given the number of people that can be on the committee, and we're hitting a limit there or something. And I don't think we are. I don't think, am I right about that?
I think the size had been started at 5.
But there was did we even have any kind of, was there a select board vote about it?
Yeah.
There was.
But it wasn't by statute.
It wasn't by statute. It was just, we made the decision that it would be, was that when the Recreation Committee got reconstituted in the last couple of years, or was it?
Yes.
It was.
Before that, we had one person for about 7 years.
Okay.
2 different people, but only one at a time.
I think if we have a committee asking for help and we have someone willing to help, I think we should appoint them.
Yeah.
You know.
They have a
Right
pretty
on.
ambitious agenda, so that's good. But so do we need a vote then to expand the size of the committee? And then to if in fact we originally had a 5-member committee, we're now saying it's a 6-member committee.
Yep. That would
Why
be,
not? Yeah, why not
Okay.
just take the vote just to be official?
Okay, so do I hear a motion to expand the Recreation Committee to 6 people from 5 people?
So moved.
My only question would be, should it be an odd number? I mean, maybe you don't even have all the people appointed, but it's
So
kind of
do you
hard.
want- do you want to
What's
expand it to
Expand it to
7 and then find somebody else?
Then it's a.
I mean, then if they only have
4-person.
6, then they have 6, I guess, but
Right, right.
I bet they have fewer contentious votes than some committees.
I bet that's right.
Gives you that idea.
Let's leave it at 6, and then if they come back
Okay.
and say we really want, I just
That's
don't want to
fine.
make
I'm
it
okay with that.
bigger.
I'll second that then.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. There's not a problem that we didn't have this on the agenda, is it?
Unexpected business.
Okay, thank you.
The only question I have is the second part. It was Becky's question about whether or not we should try to do the research about getting into be a commission. I would think,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Linda has her hand up, and then we want to move on because we can finish Becky's report after we have
I'm
the
sorry.
building committee here. It's
Yeah, I
okay.
just wanted to remind you to appoint Ann Brigham.
I'll make a
Right.
motion to appoint Ann Brigham
Second,
to the Recreation Committee. I'll finish that, Linda, the full sentence.
Okay,
second again.
Okay.
okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Makepeace O'Neill, aye.
Stalker, aye.
Farrell, aye. Okay, great. So I think we have at least, I see 3 members from the building committee. Is that correct, Bob? You're muted, by the way.
Yes, I see 3.
Okay. Tonight we are going to the select board's meeting with the building committee. And I went back and read minutes from the meetings that were held this year. And what I gleaned from at least a couple of the minutes was that there was some discussion and perhaps might even call it disagreement about the role and responsibility of the building committee. And I think what we want to do tonight is talk about the roles and responsibilities, kind of how the building committee, sees itself operating going forward, and perhaps revisiting, for me anyway, when I read the charge of the the town buildings committee, which was voted at annual town meeting in 1988, it seemed very vague to me. And I thought that we're not going to certainly do it tonight, but that, looking forward to the upcoming annual town meeting, that we perhaps update this original vote. So Bob, maybe you want to start by just telling us where the building committee is in terms of membership and activities.
Yeah, well, we've had a tough time in the last, well, certainly since the pandemic started, getting a quorum for our meetings. So that's one issue that it's been difficult for us. It's hard to do any business. As you know, as a town committee, when you can't have an official meeting, you're not supposed to even be discussing your business. So that's been a big problem. And the other issue is that, frankly, that the number of things that we have tried to address this year, we've had some difficulty getting people to get involved. Like for right now, we're trying to get the sliders in the school, which is not in any way a controversial thing. We want to get it done. We've got an agreement on what the window is going to be, the door is going to be. We've got the door has been delivered to the lumberyard. And, I just yesterday late, I received a second bid, which I had to frankly really harry the bidder on an almost daily basis to get, because there's so just hard to get people to do things. On the old town hall, we've had the same kind of issue there. And it's been difficult to get people to come up and look at it. And when they do, they just look and shake their head and say, I don't know if I'm gonna have time to do this, not really sure. We're interested, call me in a few months, and then you do that. And that kind of thing's been happening. So that's probably a temporary thing. I think obviously the slider, we're gonna try to have a meeting and have a vote to make a recommendation on which of the two bids we have, which we'll go with, the town will go with, and try to schedule that. The old town hall, I'm thinking it's going to be, we've got one bidder. And at this point, I'm not sure when we could schedule them. So we're going to have to discuss that. But other than that, the issues I tried to raise in my letter were a concern to me personally. And I think we discussed those things at the meetings as well. And I think we need some clarification. I have my understanding of what I think the committee is supposed to do and how it's supposed to conduct itself. I think that because I'm a builder, because other people in the committee are builders, I have my own way of doing business, which some things I feel very strongly are in the interest of the town to conduct properly, so that we properly assay projects and then approach them in a business-like way to make sure that we're not spending any more money on things than we need to. I try to present, I won't go into details now, but you have my letters there. You can refer to those. But yeah, the committee, as it is now, our biggest problem is just getting members. So I sent a note to you, to the select board, and I did mention to Becky also that Mike Vitsky has volunteered to join us and help us. So I think that'd be great. And as far as Nancy and Jim Aaron, I'm glad to see Nancy here. But if we got, and Bill's here, so we actually have a quorum here. So we can actually call this a meeting, I suppose, right?
Yep.
But I think that it would be good for us to have people that will have enough people to have meetings. That's the biggest problem we have. As far as the role of the building committee goes, yeah, well, I've been on the committee for a long time, and it seems, Dale Hool seems to be here. We had a kind of a general understanding of what our role was to look at bids and help put together specifics for bidding, and before the bids, put it together like a bill of particulars and a description of scope of work and so forth, and then to help administer that process and help Becky get that out and then make a recommendation to the select board about what bidder we think would be the best to hire. And then we would oversee the work and make sure it's been done properly. But the first part of that process is to identify a need, and that either comes from a department or from just someone's observation that, this building needs paint, for example, something simple as that. Slider in the school came via the school to the capital planning committee, to the building committee. So I don't know what, I guess the only thing that I was complaining about in my letters to you, and I think that I know we discussed this at our meetings, was that some projects we seem to be not welcome to participate in. And I think that may not be the best way to go. That was my objection to that. So I don't know what else you want me to say or what other information.
No, that's very helpful. Thanks, Bob. Questions from the select board members?
Well, one question I have is, let's say the town decides to build a new library. How does the building committee relate to that? That's the elephant in the room, I suppose. I mean, how does that? What's the vision of the building, or what are our vision or the building committee's vision of what should happen when that happens?
Are you directing that question to me, Eric?
Well,
Becky has an answer. Becky?
The last two major projects that in the last 40 years, the new elementary school and the proposed new library, the elementary school had a specific committee established for the building itself as a new facility. And that was going to be the same avenue taken by the library if they had gotten the construction grant. So historic, I mean, that's the way it's worked. The town building committee has, from my experience, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, has been more involved in renovations potentially, like to the highway and upkeep, you know, redoing and making small improvements to existing buildings, like re-roofing the library, re-roofing the fire department, and painting all of the town buildings. Those have been more the venue of the building committee in the past that I know of. Do you have a different experience, Bob?
Well, I'm not going to disagree with that. I think a project like the new school or maybe the new library that has a project manager and all that hired by the town, that seems to be a different category. That's a more formal kind of management. But there's lots of other things that, you know, I think that Rita and Eric may remember that we had some discussion and some questions about some of the work that was going to be done at the school, like the sidewalk, the boilers, and most recently we had a hot water heater issue over there. And, you know, I think those are things where the building committee can make a contribution to help to vet the problem, identify what options might exist, and then study it so that this decision of what's going to be done can be done, hopefully done in a way that's best represents the town's interest. But in those cases, I sort of had to come butting in to get involved because, you know, I think of my role, and I think the building committee's role in general as being one where we're not antagonistic to any request, but we wear a hat where we're auditing the request in a sense, and we're making sure that it's done not the way that it's presented to us originally, but that we look at the options, study it, and then come up with a list of options and possibilities and make a recommendation based upon our research that would serve the interests of the department and the town itself. So that I think it's really important that we have some process, whether it's the building committee or some other agency in town, where when a request comes in, it can be evaluated independently of that department. I think that's beneficial.
So I want to speak for a minute here. And then I want to see if the other members of the building committee want to speak up. Just a couple of reactions, Bob. You know, I think kind of my observation has been that you have been the building committee in essence. I mean, or that you functioned as the building committee at times when, for whatever reason, if it was just, you know, convenience because you were available or you couldn't get a quorum or whatever, which, you know, I think is a problem. But I also think that, you know, I sort of came into serving on the select board and, you know, had thought about it as the finance committee that you know, we have a lot of very valuable real estate in town, and a lot of it is not in great condition. And we have as far as I know, I have not seen any sort of a comprehensive capital needs assessment, so that we're not always reacting to, oh, the roof is going, but that there's a kind of systematic and thorough plan in place to say, oh, the heating system at the town hall is 20 years old and it has a 25-year life expectancy. And so we need to be planning ahead, or we've never replaced the windows in the, you know, in the fire department, and they're going to need to be replaced. You know, that's something that I think would be really valuable. You know, perhaps it's beyond the scope of the building committee because it's a big, you know, it's a big job, and I don't think that the building committee as currently configured or maybe ever would have the depth of technical expertise in commercial, what I call commercial buildings. to put something like that together. But that's something that I would hope that the building committee might support and advocate for.
That makes perfect
So
sense, Rita.
I saw a couple of other hands, or there are other members of the building committee here. So I want to give you the opportunity to, if there's something you think you want to add to this discussion.
Well, I'm new to the building committee, Frank here, and past year and a half, I think, Bob, or something like that. But to have outside voices or people that have been in the industry or in the construction industry for a long time, just to have a second opinion on things. And Bob brought up the boiler, and the core of the boiler we found out was solid. One engineer says, don't ever get rid of that. Why would we spend the money to replace a huge system when we can add on to it and save the town money? So I think our opinions do matter. And we, because we've been doing it. I've been doing it over 40 years. I don't know how many years other people have been in it, but I've been in this system. And it's been hard during this pandemic, specifically because building materials went through the roof in the last 2 years, up 40-something%. And people are doing so much stuff that you can't get contractors to do anything. I'm having trouble at my own house. And that will fix itself as the economy slows down in the future. And we'll be able to fix the slider or the window in the town hall. But I think we've done a good job.
Anybody else? Bill, Nancy, who else is here?
Steve.
Steve, yep.
I think Bill's trying to
Oh,
talk.
there you are.
He's just muted.
Bill, did you want to say something? You're muted.
I'm not gonna show.
There you are.
Okay,
Now
now I'm
you're
up.
muted. Yeah.
Just for instance, and Becky might remember what the price was that she had gotten a quote from some people to replace the door in the town hall, the fire door. And I, as a member of the committee, looked into pricing at other places and saved a considerable amount of money on replacing that door.
Okay, anybody else who's on the building committee, since this is a joint meeting of the select board and building committee at this point?
Yeah, I'd like to say something.
Fine. Okay, Nancy, go ahead.
Can you ask that question again?
I'm sorry?
Would you mind asking the question again? What is it? Is it like, what would you like? We had a charter theoretically.
Yeah,
for the
a
building.
charge.
A
Yeah.
charge. And then the idea is, are we doing it? And can we handle the responsibility of chiming in on really complicated projects?
Yeah, I think both of those things would be good to hear your perspective is, I mean, the charge was very broad. It said examine and oversee renovations, new construction and maintenance of town-owned properties. What does examine mean? I'm not sure. To me, examine would probably mean doing some sort of capital needs assessment. And oversee, well, as Bob pointed out, there are certain, if it's a state funded project, you always have a very large project, you have a paid project manager. But for smaller improvements, what does that oversight mean? Is that going to the job site and who does that and what kind of liability is entailed with that? Those are questions I don't have answers to, but I think we'd like to see the building committee as a functioning group and working with some sort of structure. And it doesn't feel that that's been the case.
Yeah, it's a little bit buck wild. Seems like maintenance figures prominently with the existing buildings. And it seems that that's something that we can help the town out with. There are projects of much larger scope that I don't know, I would almost consider them just about industrial, like they surpass commercial. That could be some issues regarding the school. There are tons of cool things that are happening with HVAC right now. And the skill set is just off the hook, like what they're doing right now with heating and cooling, mitigating moisture. I don't have the skill set. I love being privy to the conversation. I don't think that we're in a position on a lot of these jobs to quarterback, but we're definitely in a position to piggyback.
And, it could be that the building committee chooses to bring in some outside expertise in areas where, that seems to me that would make a whole lot of sense. I think that has happened at times, but maybe on a more formalized basis, where people get paid.
What does formalized mean?
I mean that you would pay somebody. So you would pay somebody who would come in and, a sort of disinterested person who comes in and does an assessment of the heating system and makes recommendations, rather than having a vendor telling you this is what you should be doing. So that.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. And it's from, thinking about how Bruce Whittier just retired, and that, Whittier heating and plumbing has become something really different. It's hard to find folks that can be objective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Bob?
Yeah, I just want to say on that line there, I'm a builder, as you know, Rita, and I do this all the time. I mean, you don't just you do have reliable, trusted resources like we have Jamrog in the town here, but this still doesn't mean you don't check on people. You check on their price, you check on alternate analysis of a problem. You do that as a matter of routine. That's what the building committee does, is try to bring in at least two perspectives on any project and two numbers at least. That's what we've done on this little job of the sliders. Is didn't want to take the first price, but at least for a second, we'd like to have three. That's been our longstanding policy. The other thing is, you say you don't want to take the vendor's advice. Sometimes the vendor might be acting in his own interest. Surprise. Mm-hmm. He also might be wrong about his analysis of the problem. And these vendor, that's what competition is all about, bringing another perspective and bringing somebody that wants the job maybe a little more. And that's what we try to do. And we've tried to do historically in this committee. And again, I don't think that we have a philosophy going way back to when Dale was chair of trying to bring in local talent as much as we can, mm-hmm. trying to work with people that we know. Because if you go through the state process of letting out work, you end up, Becky knows this, you end up putting it on the register, and you get these people from God knows where bidding, and they throw a price up against the wall. And then they show up and they've got a crew that does nothing. And they're already contracted, and they have a lot of, it's very difficult to control them at that point. So we've tried to gather in a group of local people that we know. But even with that, say if we have Whittier as a plumber was one of the guys we relied on, and other plumbers like Pickering's, you still check on these guys because it's just the way to do, it's the right way to do business, due diligence, Mm-hmm. So I think that the committee has done that historically. I think the problem now is that we run into some pushback when we tried to stick our nose in on the heating system. And I think Becky will tell you that the committee ended up making a recommendation for an engineer, because that was definitely very technically challenging. But we did, and we don't have anything bad to say about Jamrog, but we brought in people, first of all, Becky brought in this other company, Nexus, and then we brought in this engineer recommended by some local architects that specialize in schools. And so that's the kind of thing that we should do, we want to do. And again, we don't want to go out and hire a consulting engineer if we don't have to. Sometimes you get people with a lot of expertise to come and bid and make and analyze things and draw something up. So I think going forward, that's the way, and we can handle some big projects without having an architect run them, because that ends up costing a lot of money.
So I see, Nancy, you have your speaker on.
Sorry.
So Mike Binsky, I think, is next, and then Michael after that.
Yeah,
Mike?
because I missed the first part of the meeting here, and so I'm kind of picking up pieces as we go here. But basically, I mean, I've been trying to get onto the building committee here for the last few months. I'm not quite sure why that has been delayed or anything like that. But with that thought in mind, there's a lot of people in town that are willing to work with the building committee and provide their expertise. Not that I have any expertise, but I think I could help out as far as coordinating things, doing some paperwork, doing some phone calls and things like that. But I think it's very important that we maintain the ability to take a look at projects that are going on and kind of having the ability to do a sanity check on what's coming, what's being presented and what may be going out to bid and things like that. So I think it's very important that we do have a buildings committee. But as I've been following the meetings over the last year or so, it's kind of been sort of obvious to me that there isn't a process for dealing with maintenance type things or new construction or anything like that. It seems to be very haphazard as far as how the building committee gets the information that something's going on that they may need to be able to provide their expertise and guidance with. So I think that might be an area that the select board could help streamline and make sure that there's a definite process involved with being able to incorporate the building committee into these things. And I hesitate to use this example, but the library planning that's been going on.
I think that's getting off topic, and I'd rather just be sticking to the building committee. So I'm going to ask.
I'm just going to say that the building committee is there, and if committees and groups within the town don't use them, then of course it looks like they're not doing anything. Thanks.
Michael DiChiara.
Yeah, so I guess I would go back to Rita where you started, which is just on, my observations both on the select board and then being at town meetings and things, that clarifying the role of the buildings committee makes sense in terms of, advisory, not advisory. Do they get tagged for certain things, and if tagged by who and when and what conditions, but the clarity of it. Because my observation, and I will say, especially when I was on school committee, the buildings committee is very helpful with the school, of course, and I think I appreciate the expertise, especially that Bob brings to it. But it seems like it ends up being this philosophical battleground, where what I've heard a lot of is, and unfortunately, Mike just sort of said it, the sanity check. So there's a sense that, the town wants to do something. And then there's a sense of, well, we can do it cheaper or we don't have to spend it. Sometimes it's legitimate. I have no idea about the boiler as an example, but it could be that it's a really great boiler and it's not. But there's a lot of time and effort where I think there's battling going on about, we don't need to spend that money, we can do it cheaper, which means that the job gets contentious and drawn out, and the work doesn't necessarily happen because there's approach battles happening, different approaches, and people aren't agreeing. And so clarifying how the expertise of the building committee can be applied to the town's needs in a productive way without creating that vagueness where people are battling over it. And I mean, I have opinions about it, but I think clarity would help everybody because there's expertise that can be used and there's needs that have to get addressed. But the getting stuck about, we just need to get it done, we want to pay it, and we trust people versus we can do it cheaper and do it on our own, or your approach doesn't make sense and we should do this. That doesn't help anyone. And I think that's the morass that I've observed with the buildings committee, for the last few years. And it's more than people. It's because there's probably not clarity, is what I'm getting.
I'd like to agree with that sentiment. It's like there could be a new committee created called the Coupon Committee, where you're just trying to bottom dollar everything, look for the best deals. I feel like Becky's extremely knowledgeable about the budget that's brought to her and how spending happens with the state, and it's fairly complicated. And I feel like our job is to help her vet people, and our job is to look at problems that are cropping up, to create maps of the buildings, to create maps of where problems are going to potentially be happening, and to kind of be the town's wingman, and not to price shop it, because it's a horrible habit with contractors. We have to trust that the town wants to do a really good job, and understand that Becky knows the rules for states and towns and how you spend money.
Clearly, the procurement process is a tricky one, and be great if we had somebody on the building committee who had some procurement expertise. So I just because Mike Pinsky brought it up, I want to address the issue of the current members on the building committee. First, in any kind of clarification, looking at the charge, I would want to reinforce that what we need on the building committee is people with expertise in mechanical systems and in, maybe in architects, construction. I think we have a lot of that now. Mike, no, I don't want to insult you, but I don't believe, we need somebody to make phone calls. I don't think that's what the building committee, what we should be looking for in a new member, or to bring a sanity check. I think what we want on the building committee is people who have, who bring a level of expertise that really rounds out the knowledge base that we need in order for the committee to function in dealing with buildings. Just in terms of process, what we typically do with committees is that we ask if it's the select board making the appointment, and historically, even though it says the moderator makes, does a joint appointment, I don't think that has been, that's the way it's been working, but the select board asks the committee to meet first to reach out to the public to see who might want to serve on committees. And a number of you have probably seen that up late. The planning board's done it, a number of other boards, and that the committee then comes forward with a recommendation, and that there's a vote behind it. And I know the building committee hasn't met, so Mike's name came up, and it was without, I think, any vote on the part of the building committee, as far as I know. But I would have my hesitations, which I've expressed this evening. So I want to give the other two members of the select board an opportunity, and then anybody else from the building committee, and then the public. Melissa, Eric?
Well, I think what you said is true, Rita. I mean, I think that The other thing I think is, I mean, it's you know, we're sort of skirting around the philosophical issue here. And I mean, if you again, and I know we're not talking about the library, but it's like you start, I mean, you can't have a committee that just doesn't want to do anything, doesn't want to spend any money. That's not, I mean, you know, we just want to spend it right. There's no question about that. But my sense, I've had a fear that that's sort of been part of the issue here. And I could be wrong about that, but that's my sense.
And in another committee appointment set, we had discussed that it might have been a heavy load in one direction or another, for or against a project, and we voted against those two people. So, you know, I think it's our due diligence to watch to make sure a committee isn't heavily weighted in a pre-established point of view, I guess is the way to put it. Maybe not the best words there, but I think you get the idea. You know, so
Thanks, Melissa.
you're welcome.
Anybody else? from the building?
Penny's had her hand up for a long time there,
Okay,
Rita.
Penny, go ahead. Whoops, you're muted.
Reminder, thank you. I'm having some deja vu because I've been here a long time, and one of the ongoing concerns or hopes has been that the town has a thorough inventory and assessment of its buildings. And Rita, you mentioned that a little bit ago, and I just would like to underscore that, because I think that if we do have that kind of assessment, which buildings need what kind of repairs, and then we have a prioritizing of them, part of a capital planning process, then we can deal, in addition to having clarity about what the building committee does, we have clarity about what our needs are and how to move forward in addressing them. So I don't know who does that. I rather think the building committee has not that broad a charge, but I think it would be important to, in conjunction with members of the committee, somehow identify how that piece could get accomplished. I think it would help us not just be responsive to things as that comes along, but be able to develop an ongoing plan for taking care of things.
And what it would do is give us a range of cost. Obviously, costs change, but at least, you know, a sort of starting point. Bob?
Yeah, I just want to respond to a couple of things I've said about going for cheap, not wanting to spend money or being cheap and wanting the cheapest solution to a problem. That's completely out of order from my perspective. As a contractor, as a general contractor, and as a designer, I'm always thinking of cost. Cost is one of the essential ingredients in anything that you do. And so you're always thinking about cost, but you think about other aspects of the project as well. Quality is a simple way to, another aspect that you always consider. We on the building committee have voted and recommended to accept bids, higher bids than lower bids when we felt that that was in the best interest of the town. And we had to talk about that quite a bit because some people claim that the low bid is always the best bid. I don't believe that. I never have, and I've never said that in the committee. What we're looking for is the best deal and the best prospect for the town doing business. Secondly, as a builder, I feel a very, very strong inclination to protect the interest of my client. That is, if I'm working for you, Eric or Rita or Becky or anyone, I don't want you to waste your money. I feel really obligated to make sure that any of my contractors, any of the people that are working for us don't overcharge you. And that's your money. If you insist on hiring somebody who's going to waste your money, that's up to you. But I'm dealing with the town's money. I'm dealing with the public's money. I have to be that much more careful. That charge is much more significant because people might be pushing for work who are not paying for it. Matter of fact, so us in the building committee, we have to be extremely aware of that, and we have to be aware that there is a real need. And our recommendation, whether the work should happen or not, if someone proposes that we replace a roof and the roof has 10 years left in it, we have to be able to say, we don't recommend that this job be done now. That's not being cheap. That's not being.
No, I didn't mean, if you're talking to me, Bob, I didn't mean to imply that.
I just want to be
saying.
clear, that's a little insulting that we're just like trying to not spend money. It's not true. I'm very happy to spend money. We've been trying to spend the town's money on the school roof for years. And there's a lot of reasons why it hasn't happened, but it hasn't because the building committee doesn't want to spend money. Let me tell you that.
Okay, so Steve, and then I think Becky might have had a hand up.
Yeah, I think my position on the buildings committee is to kind of straddle the buildings committee and the school committee. So I just want to clarify a little bit about the boiler issue. What happened was that the staff in the school were talking boiler, but what they really meant, because they didn't know any better, was delivery system. So that's where the whole boiler conversation started, when it should have been about delivery system. It was just, boiler, because that's what they knew. And as far as, on the school roof, I've been talking about this stinking school roof since 2008, when I became the after-school director, and it was leaking at least prior to that 2006. So finally, because the buildings committee would never take it up seriously, I asked the school committee to bypass the buildings committee and go directly to the town manager. And we got the consultant to look at the roof and get that thing rolling, or otherwise the buildings committee would still be talking about it.
Becky, did you have a comment?
I just had one example of an issue the school had a problem, still has a problem with the sidewalks. What was quoted and what was supported at town meeting was a full replacement of the sidewalks. And then there was a review by a member of the finance committee with Bob that determined that it would save a lot of money just to replace the ones that were worse than others. And so we basically replaced haphazard ones and left other ones. And at this point, the settling and everything else, it's become a problem for the school. The principal brings it up at town meetings. They would like to have a sidewalk that is fully consistent. That's a horizontal project, more in keeping with the highway department. Horizontal versus vertical. Vertical should be building committee. Horizontal projects like paving really need the expertise of our highway department that works on those. So unfortunately, that is one example where the effort to save money has set the town back and caused problems, especially in the winter, people falling, parents, grandparents bringing their children in and out of school falling. And I have yet to figure out any purpose for doing that except for the purpose of saving money.
Okay, we are over our allotted time here, but I don't want to close off the conversation if there's something new and important to add to this discussion. I think there's lots of food for thought, and I don't think this is the last time we'll meet with the building committee. So, I'd like to process this. I hope the building, I don't think you guys have you met since May?
Oh, yeah, we've met.
Okay, there were no minutes. I was reading minutes today, so.
It should be there. I sent them to Grace, but we've had several attempts that failed to meet. That is why we asked, and I think one of our would-be meetings, or a couple of them, we discussed inviting Mike to join us because he was there. But of course, he didn't count for quorum. And we had some members that were not there, and so we couldn't acquire a quorum. So that's the problem. That's our biggest problem. I think we could make some progress and we could work with you. And we, of course, we know we work for the select board. That's what my understanding is. We work as an advisory committee to the select board, but we take our job seriously and we want to do it. And we need to get a quorum. That's our biggest problem.
And I think some clarification around roles and responsibilities beyond what is in the original charge from
I have
1988.
a question.
Yeah.
You know how the first part of the select board meeting, you were talking about how there was like a climate change committee that would be dissolved and a new committee would be created? Maybe that needs to happen for the buildings with a very specific charter or charge, and with everything laid out. I don't believe we need to be in charge of money. I think we need to be stewards. You know, stewardship is job one, and we have to trust the finance and the select board and the town manager to handle money appropriately. We can help you find good people to do the task before you, but I don't think that we should be hunting for the bottom dollar. I think it's wildly irresponsible. I think our job one is to make sure that people get in and out of the school safely, that we don't pull a Miami condo trick with the stupid roof in the gym of the school. Like, I think our responsibility is to help you identify problems and help see that they're successfully resolved.
Well,
Thanks,
can I just ask
Nancy.
a technical question? So right now, in terms of Bob's issue of the meeting quorum, are there people on the committee that shouldn't be on the committee because they don't come there? They don't come?
I don't come.
So there you go. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Would
Yeah.
that solve the problem if we changed the committee of people who can come?
But there needs to be clarity, and as Rita was pointing out, we need a very diverse group of people. We need folks that understand the financial workings of the town. We need folks that are familiar with architecture and probably more like commercial and industrial level stuff or municipal. It's really nice to have builders. They know a lot of folks. They can handle the small things. That'd be more the maintenance component. Yeah, we need a diverse group of folks.
Okay, Michael, make it quick.
Yeah, no, it is very quick.
I'm wrapping this up.
Yeah, no, I was
tonight.
just gonna pick up on that it seems like the first order of business is clarifying what the charge is before you start filling the ranks, because unless you know what it's gonna look like and what the committee is supposed to achieve, you can't then recruit the right people for it. Just getting bodies in and appointing them is not gonna further the clarification goal.
That'd be awesome.
I agree with that. I think we're taught, all this boils down to redoing the charge or making the charge so that it works for what Bob wants, and whatever. We should just redo the charge. Think about the charge.
Bob?
I just want to say one last word briefly. Mike Finsky's
I knew you would.
Mike Finsky's been to about 3 or 4 meetings this year, the last 12 months, and Nancy Matthews has been to 0. So I just want to point that out. I would like to see Mike Finsky be appointed. I think he's a hard worker. And I don't think there's any ideological issue here. We're not even talking about the library. We're talking about ongoing process of keeping up the town buildings and identifying what needs to be done, reviewing requests. I think that your idea of having a survey of the town buildings is an excellent one. I think that's something we could help at least block out on a committee if we continue to work. All right. I'll mute myself.
Okay. So I am going to wrap up the discussion of the town building committee, and to be continued. I think we have some things the select board to mull over, and we will invite you back. That sound good? Okay. You adjourning your meeting?
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening.
Okay, Becky, so you were kind of in the middle of the town administrator report. Was there anything else that you wanted to?
Just that I just want to touch base with the select board over our progress towards hybrid meetings. We are, now that we have the, call it infrastructure, we have our new our new supersized smart television. And we have our OWL, which is a speaker, microphone, and camera that can be set on a table and make sure that all the members of one committee can be heard, and which means that we can have a committee within the building, one committee within the building, and still have them available on Zoom. I'm starting to realize after last week, when we had up to 3 meetings per time slot, that we're going to run into some problems. And I'm looking to the select board to help me figure out a strategy as how to prioritize the hybrid meeting space. I think it could be looked at as committees that have members that really can't get online. And also the committees like the Select Board and Finance Committee, whose meetings are critical to the ongoing operations and Personnel Board. But we still have Concom and Planning, but we have, and the Library Trustees. There's, probably 20 committees almost. And I just want to plant the seed that I'm going to sketch out a little bit of a policy for hybrid meetings for hopefully our next meeting or the one after. My goal is to have hybrid meetings, have a little instruction book, be able to tutor people in the operation of the system by the beginning of January. So as we enter the new year. So those are the pieces that we'll need, is a policy and prioritizing the room for hybrid, and as well as to accomplish that, Grace and I are working on an instruction sheet for downstairs. And I am still getting training from Melissa on how to use the system. It is, if you've never used a smart TV, it's a new experience. It's a new field. And you also have to be comfortable taking files from one screen to another screen, in this case, from my laptop to the 86-inch screen, and then back again, and to be able to do it to facilitate a meeting. So it's going to take a little bit of training for those that are the most technologically comfortable in our committees.
Or challenged. I think the challenge part is
So I think
maybe that's how it gets prioritized. It's what is your
Who knows how to use it?
technological, IQ? Right? Yeah. If you have a really high IQ, okay, go for it. But we have Melissa, so we're good.
It never would have happened.
It's just to fill in it. It is mostly plug and play. And what Becky is explaining about the 2 screens is the TV becomes a second monitor for the left. And that's, so you have to think about it that way, not as a TV. You just have to think about it.
I'd have to be there to kind of visualize
It
that.
makes sense if you're sitting in front.
Yeah.
And you have to go one way. It's like a rotary. You have to, if you start going the wrong
Exit left.
Oh, God.
it falls apart.
Okay, I'm really looking forward to this. Yeah, Becky, so if you want to give us some recommendations on how we might proceed, but I do agree, Finance Committee, Select Board, sort of, and then there's a bunch of other committees that come right after that are doing serious work. Yeah. And then, we do have the problem where we often have 2 or 3 meetings on the same night, right? And it has to, we just have to give.
It'll have to be somehow first come, first serve on that. And the Select Board, of course, will be able to bump anyone.
Oh, boy.
I can't wait to read this policy.
Yeah, really.
Okay. Anything else, Becky?
Not tonight. That's
okay.
That's good.
PFAS, we're gonna have a PFAS, there's no PFAS update, right? Nothing to report,
my
probably.
only PFAS update is my one individual with still needing water, needs 4 more gallons. They have company for Thanksgiving.
Do you need help getting them to them, Becky?
Can somebody help you do that, Becky, rather than you?
Melissa wants to drive her Jeep.
I'll deliver, that's fine.
That'll be great. I'll go, yeah, that would be great, Melissa.
Okay, just let
Thanks,
me know where
Melissa.
and when. When
Okay,
and where.
but it has to happen tonight or tomorrow morning.
How about tomorrow morning?
Okay,
Yeah, just text me what time and just have to remind me of the address.
okay, I will do that. Thank you very much.
And I pick them up at the town hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I think we are done. And do I hear we're meeting again Monday night? Is that right?
Yes, we are.
What's this about there's a meeting on the 24th or something that we're supposed to, what's that? I don't even know what that's about.
Becky, Monday, we also have the police study group.
I thought we were meeting on
We're
Tuesday.
meeting Tuesday, the
Yeah,
30th.
yeah.
We went
sorry.
back and
It's okay.
forth 7 times, Rita. That's why we're both confused. But we ended up on Monday, Monday, December 6th. That's
Oh, okay, so I was thinking ahead.
yeah.
Okay,
So we have the
it's-
30th and then we have the 6th.
okay. Okay, so we're meeting on Tuesday night,
The
next
30th.
week,
Yes.
the 30th, and then again on Monday, the 6th.
Yes.
Isn't there something on the calendar for the 24th of this? Like, am I just crazy about that? I thought I saw that today.
Oh,
Yeah,
email
10 in the morning or
Wednesday?
something.
fire department.
That's
Fire
Yeah.
department.
10
Oh, it's
a.m.
posted as
every
a select board meeting.
Wednesday. Every
Yeah.
Wednesday, the future of the fire department committee will be meeting at 10 a.m. every Wednesday.
Okay, it just posted as a select board meeting, but maybe that's the case.
The
Two
same
of us
thing
are there.
happened with the police study group. The first time it gets up, it's a select board subcommittee. So
Right.
it goes in originally under select board and then Grace is able to create the sub, the
Okay,
own category after that. But this is,
good. I'm not totally crazy. I thought like, where'd this meeting come from? I never heard about this meeting.
yeah, no, you don't have to be here tomorrow. Or,
Good.
And
Do we have to
And
sign
we-
warrants? Do we have to sign warrants tomorrow?
yes,
Yeah.
yes, sign warrants sometime this week, please.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Linda?
Yes, and there'll be a red folder.
Oh, for
With-
the Clarks. All
Things in, yeah, Clark forms, and I'll put
Okay.
them in.
right, I can come in the morning.
It'll
can
be,
too.
I can have them there by 10-ish. Is that good?
It's a little late for me, but
Yeah.
I have to start cooking.
Like them
How
earlier.
about 9:30?
Okay,
That,
9:30. Okay, cool.
yep, I'll have them there by 9:30.
yes, by 9:30.
Perfect.
Okay,
Got
great.
it.
All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Okay, all those in favor?
Make peace, O'Neill, aye.
Stalker eye.
Farrell, aye. Thanks, everybody.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thanks. Good night.
Good night.
Bye.